What's up, guys? It's Branden Flash. Today we're in my Rivian R1T. We've got a bed full of donations and we're headed to Raleigh for a Rivian Stories group meetup. So first we gotta head to the Goodwill donation center and then we'll head all the way to Raleigh. It's about 2.5 hours each way. Just reset my trip so we can see the efficiency for all day. And right now we're charged up to 76%. Let's get started. All right, so apparently Goodwill doesn't take mirrors without frames and also doesn't take bed pillows. So I had to go home, bring those back because I didn't want them just hanging out in the bed of the truck. But now we're headed to Raleigh area. I think it's Apex technically. I'm just getting on the road and then I'll figure out a charging plan. I will need to charge probably on the way there so I don't have to charge on the way back, just for time's sake. But we're headed there. I'm in all-purpose mode right now at 75%. It's estimating 208 miles of range. We've got 136 miles to get to the brewery that this meetup is at. So I'll have plenty of range to make it there without any problems at all. But I definitely won't have enough range to make it all the way back to Charlotte. So here's the route it wants us to go. Out of Charlotte and then pretty much straight across, as you can see there. So that's a CP 250 62 kilowatt. That's also CP 250 or 62 kilowatt. But that one's down. So I don't really love that route. I think I'm gonna end up diverting to one of these, maybe go this way instead, and then maybe go back that way just to save time. So yeah, that's kind of my tentative plan. So I'm gonna change my routing to go, I think, to that one. So here's the updated route. We're gonna go to the Sheetz Electrify America here. We've got plenty of bailout options along the way if needed, but I think we should be more than fine. It's estimated we'll get there with 53 miles of range. Totally fine. I'll put it into conserve once we're on the interstate because it gives you more range with essentially no downside, as we found out in my test that I did and posted yesterday. Or yeah, that was yesterday. Posted today, did the test yesterday. But it's the previous video to this. So like I said, plenty of options along the way, and then we'll dip down to Apex. The meetup is until 3:30, so that should give us plenty of time to add some range all the way, or enough range to make it all the way back here, and I can roll it in pretty much dead without any issues. So we're now cruising along in conserve mode on I-85. And I was just thinking, I don't think I've ever actually done this drive by myself. I think the last time I did the Charlotte to Raleigh route through Greensboro, High Point, all those towns, is actually when I went to, or from Rocky Mount all the way to Lake Norman area with Kyle, Alyssa, and Timon when we were making a video about Ferrari versus Prius Prime. So if you're a real OG viewer, you would know that video. Otherwise, maybe I'll remember to link it down below, but it was a pretty comical video to say the least. And we drove all the way from Rocky Mount to Lake Norman and back in the same day just to make a kind of silly video about Prius Prime versus Ferrari. So that was kind of interesting, but we're now cruising along here and we'll get to the Sheetz with the Electrify America with 67 miles estimated now that we're in conserve mode. But I'll probably burn up some of that buffer and I'll see you there.
We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go.
Well, I just checked PlugShare and the Electrify America app for the station that we're headed to. It's not looking great. We're about 26 miles out. We have 104 miles of range estimated, so we'll be fine no matter what. There's plenty of other chargers around the area, but it looks like 2 of the stations are down according to the EA app, and it looks like on PlugShare only one of the cables on one of the units is functioning at full power. So I guess we'll see how this goes, and we might end up having to go to a different DC fast charger instead of that one. Well, we just arrived to the Hillsborough, North Carolina Electrify America. Here are our stats. Actually, pretty darn efficient. 2.17 mile per kilowatt hour in comparison to my lifetime efficiency here of 1.85. So that's actually creeping up since my road trip. But yeah, not bad at all. Pretty happy with that. 25% state of charge, 73 miles estimated range. And according to the Electrify America app, number 1 here and number 2 here are the ones working. So I parked in front of number 2 with the plan that I can try both of those cables and this cable without having to move the vehicle. So that's just planning on my part, I guess. This one is indicated as unavailable on the app. Let's see if that's actually the case on the unit itself. Give that a second. So both of these are showing as unavailable if you can see those screens. So both of those completely dead. So we're at half capacity here, which is kind of sad. So I'm going to get this one started here with my phone. If needed, we'll switch handles, and if needed, we'll switch units. So let's hope for the best, I guess. All right, so we've plugged in here. I hear cable cooling going. We'll give that a minute here. These ABB units are so slow to show anything on the screen, so it's not even worth looking at the unit itself. We'll go to the energy screen. And let's see what happens. And if we go over 36 kilowatts, hopefully we do. That's weird. I don't know why it's doing miles per hour. Well, that's actually very promising. We're over 36 kilowatts, which means the cable seems to be functioning fine. Well, in theory, we should actually get about 210, 215 kilowatt right now. If we get the full 500 amps, which it looks like we're going to actually. Well, that's closer to 350, 375 amps, but as long as it holds that steady, I'm happy with that as well. So that's totally fine with me. I have no problem with the 164 kilowatt. We'll just see if it actually holds. So I'm going to see what the food menu looks like for the brewery that the Meetup's at, to see if I should grab some food in Sheets instead, because I actually have pretty decent made-to-order food. And I'm glad that this is at a Sheets, because the gas station charging stations are just better than Walmart charging stations. There's actually a Walmart across the street, so I'm kind of surprised it's not there, but I'm also happy that it's not. This is awesome. Can't complain about this. Wish that it was maybe marked a little bit more obviously, because I think people would maybe block these if they're not paying attention. Yeah. Well, and just as I was speaking nicely about how well it's working, we now have a stop reason connector error and the session failed. So going to unplug here. I guess we'll try the other cable first, see if that works. So let me activate this one and then we'll try again and see how that goes. Well, we're plugged in on the right side cable now of the same unit and activated. So cable cooling just turned on. Let's see how this one goes. Maybe we'll even get over 200 kilowatt. That would be great. But like I said, I'm fine with 160 and change as long as we're charging and it works. Well, good news, we're over 36 kilowatt. It's promising. So far, looking pretty good. 140, can't complain about that. There's a Prius Prime right behind us. I think that's Prius Prime anyway, in that color. Ironically, that's the same color Prius Prime that I drove in last time that I came to Raleigh. And look at that, over 200 kilowatts. So as long as that actually stays, we're looking good. And just about to wrap up charging here. We're at 67%. I'll probably just let it complete at 70. Shouldn't be too long. I ended up switching to the 150 kilowatt unit here just to see if it worked, and ended up staying there because, as we discovered in my charging test video, it really doesn't matter a whole lot. Let's see here. So 106 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt delivered in about 20 minutes. Not bad at all. So it seems like only one handle works there. This handle works. I don't know about Chatamo. Maybe it works. And those two are down. So really not a great state of condition here. This site actually used to have FSEC hardware. This was part of that wave of early installs. And then they ripped them out and put in the ABB. But unlike the I-95 corridor that had FSEC, this has ABB instead of Signet. So let's just see here when it's done charging. 69% now. And let me show you where we're going as well. So let's just recalculate this trip here in case it didn't already. So we're going to a place called Vicious Fishes. We'll be 10 minutes late compared to the start time, but I think it should be fine. It's not like these things start exactly on time anyway. So looks like a pretty easy drive there, and we'll be there 3:41. This should finish in just one moment. There we go. So 53 kilowatt hour added on this session. That should be enough to get us all the way home, including there. And we'll probably roll in with like 30, 40 miles. I'll probably end up just charging at work tomorrow instead of charging at home, just out of convenience. But let's get on the road. I might be a little bit biased, but a big fan of convenience store, gas station, charging stations. I just think they make the most sense. They're closer to the interstate, typically shorter walk to use the restroom. They have windshield washers, stuff like that, trash cans, all within a closer distance than your typical Walmart or mall or shopping complex charging station. I just think overall a lot better experience for people on the go. It's not to say you shouldn't have destination style charging stations in cities maybe, where you want to just spend time as part of your daily commute, but for corridor locations, I just think gas stations make the most sense. More than one even. Well, just cleared out here. We had, I think, 13 Rivians. Great turnout, really, actually more than I expected. Great to meet so many people here, and if you're watching, well, hello, nice to meet you. But time to head back to Charlotte. I'm just figuring out my route here. The Rivian's wanting me to go through Greensboro, but I think we're gonna go through Sanford instead. It's a bit shorter, even though it's, well, yeah, I think we're gonna go through Ashboro. So let me show you the route here. So the Rivian's wanting us to go kind of the way we came in, that way, but we're gonna be going a more direct route this way. So I just put in this charger here as my navigation waypoint of sorts for now, and then once we get on this route, then I'll switch it to actually going home. But got my photos from the drone, importing and uploading to Lightroom there while I drive with the built-in hotspot. We're at 59% state of charge. That's on all purpose. So let's switch it to conserve here. I always like to, helps if I have it on there. Let the vehicle roll a little bit here as it's lowering down, because I had it on high. So not lowering it a ton, but let's get on the road here. Recenter there, so that we get home at a reasonable time. I think we're supposed to get home like 8 o'clock. It's like 2.5 hours roughly. I've only been driving here on the interstate for a moment, but we're at 178 miles driven, 2.12 miles per kilowatt hour. We're gonna be taking a cloverleaf here and taking 64 West, which I believe is a state or county highway, something like that. Really curious to see if Driver Plus is allowed on this road. I hope it is, because I don't really want to have to drive the whole way entirely myself, but one way to find out, I suppose. Well, after a pretty uneventful drive, which is always nice, but actually pretty beautiful drive, we've made it to home-ish. We're at the Harris Teeter right near the apartment because Kaylee has requested some pizza. So I'll be bringing home a frozen pizza and hopefully that appeases her. We'll see, I guess. But anyway, we drove 311 miles. I'll show the stats here in just 1 second. Overall, vehicle is excellent, super comfortable, pretty efficient actually. I'll show you that in a second. Like I said, I'd say my biggest critique from today's drive is actually that Rivian really needs to bring their lane keeping to all roads, even unmapped roads, because only being able to use it on mapped roads is really annoying. And this entire drive home actually was on unmapped roads, so I had to drive. I mean, adaptive cruise is nice, but adaptive cruise without lane keeping is just not the same and really not as useful. I'm really spoiled, and this is really a first world problem, but I mean, this is a nearly $100,000 vehicle, so I don't think I'm being unreasonable. But let me show you the stats here, and then we'll wrap this video up. So we're down to 11% state of charge, 29 miles estimated. I just put it into all-purpose, just nearby. Wanted to drag race someone slightly. But I drove in conserve mode for pretty much the entire drive today. So 311 miles driven, 53 mile per hour average, just shy of 6 hours driving today, and a surprisingly good 2.17 mile per kilowatt hour. So I'm pretty happy with that given the all-terrain tires. Let's see what my lifetime is up to here. So lifetime actually went up, I think 0.02 today, to 1.87 miles per kilowatt hour, and looks like we'll be hitting 6,000 miles this week. So like I said, great vehicle, super happy with the performance today. Great to meet so many other Rivian owners. See, I think it was 8 R1Ts and 2 R1Ss if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was just awesome. Glad to make it all the way out to Raleigh to have that happen, but hopefully next time we can do that in Charlotte. Need to set up a meetup in the Charlotte area. But thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one.